Hello, welcome. This is Causes and Effects of Climate Change by Ian Diaz and Ismriti Marahata. Causes and Consequences of Climate Change. In this presentation, we will discuss the causes and consequences of climate change from different contributors. Then, in the second half, we will discuss the social and ecological consequences as well. Here are different factors we'll discuss: the state, and along with that, carbon emissions, government negligence, population, individuals, and resources. And with that, there'll be personal negligence, population growth, corporate power, overuse, and local destruction, science and technology. We'll discuss negative and positive contributions of it. What is climate change? Basic climate change definition. According to NASA, climate change is a long-term change in the average weather patterns that have come to define Earth's local, regional, and global climates. Global warming climate change. According to NASA, global warming is the long-term heating of Earth's surface observed since the pre-industrial period, between 1850 and present, due to human activities, primarily fossil fuel burning, which increase heat-trapping greenhouse gas levels in Earth's atmosphere. In this presentation, we'll definitely be talking about the latter. Causes and consequences from the state. A major contributing issue to the problems of climate change are government militaries. Why? Factors such as tanks and airplanes create large amounts of carbon emissions. Militaries are an invisible contributor to climate change as they are often overlooked. Many world governments often exempt them, as most lay people and policy experts rather focus on technological innovations to address reducing carbon emissions. As a result, the continued use of emissions will continue to exacerbate climate change, leading to effects like more severe heat waves, floods, and droughts. One other failure is a lack of seriousness, downplaying, and ignorance that undermines the scientific consensus from the U.S. government. Their efforts range from campaigning to discredit scientific basis of climate change and questioning the natural rhythms of changing climates, to the more outrageous. For instance, President Trump has gone so far as to allege a worldwide hoax concocted by scientists to fool the public. Causes and consequences from the population, individuals, and the resources. Many individuals, such as ourselves, often forget and even ignore the problems of climate change. Some of the reasons why may be that many people feel that the issues are too distant to take seriously. Much of the population are too often skeptical if climate change is real. Some believe that the changes are natural and humans cannot control them. Another thing is population growth. As the population continues to grow, particularly in Africa and Asia, the demand for food increases. Such large demands for food lead to increased agriculture, resulting in deforestation. Without more forests, the amount of CO2, which is produced by cars, factories, and more, will continue to increase as forests absorb much of it. And according to social theorist Thomas Malthus, he proposed that an inverse relationship between environmental quality and population growth asserted that, without restraint, human population growth will eventually exceed the production of food, resulting in a massive crash in population. Causes and consequences from corporate power. Mining and industrial extraction accelerated environmental degradation. Corporations overused and polluted water resources, worsening climate impacts. Weak environmental laws allowed profit to outweigh sustainability. Government corporate alliances ignored indigenous communities' concerns. This resulted in the drying of Lake Hupo, loss of biodiversity, and destroyed fisheries. Local communities lost jobs, homes, and cultural identity. Economic inequality grew as companies continued to profit. This demonstrates how corporate power fuels environmental injustice and social harm. Science and technology. Industrial farming and heavy machinery increase greenhouse gas emissions. Overuse of technology disrupts natural ecosystems and soil health. Limited scientific understanding leads to mistrust in climate research. Technology also supports adaptation through better irrigation and soil management. Amish farmers rely on low-tech, community-based strategies for resilience. Non-Amish farmers depend on advanced tools and scientific data to adapt. Unequal access to technology creates adaptation gaps between groups. Combining scientific innovation with traditional knowledge ensures sustainable solutions. Social consequences of climate change. Here's how climate change is socially affecting people. The social consequences of climate change. One issue that's occurred is the rising sea levels in the Western Pacific, namely in the Carteret Islands. First wave in the world's first official evacuation of an entire people because of climate change. Because of this, the islanders' way of life has been significantly affected, having to evacuate. Though not everyone wants to leave, no one believes they should stay. As the clan chief's daughter expressed, if the situation will allow me to leave, I will. She pauses, then adds sadly, I will. They know why this is occurring. The islanders blame sea level rise on the climate change. It doesn't help either that they have had no help from the government in evacuating from the islands. Another area in which climate change is poised to affect is the tradition of food knowledge. Through changing landscapes, weather patterns, and, again, rising sea levels, the highest affected being near the equator. And through extreme weather and heat caused by a changing climate affects the quality of water, food, and air. Rising temperatures can lead to harmful algal blooms, many of which produce toxins that make people sick. Increased rainfall, storms, and flooding can contaminate water resources with viruses and bacteria, causing gastrointestinal and other illnesses. The effects of disease and illness can also disrupt power. Key mechanisms through which infectious disease can precipitate conflict and instability include changing the balance of power between states by affecting national wealth, B. Creating disputes. Sorry, let me refresh that. A. Changing the balance of power between states by affecting national wealth. B. Creating disputes between governments over how to manage infectious disease outbreaks. And C. Weakening domestic government's capacity. Furthermore, I'd like to explain one sociological cause that has allowed climate change to occur and worsen, particularly from the West. Despite the heat records, extreme weather events, and urgent warnings from the scientific community, climate change has remained a proverbial elephant in the room. Climate scientists may have identified global warming as the most important issue of our time. But for urban dwellers in the rich and powerful northern countries, climate change is still mostly seen as no more than background noise. So even through all the scientific effort, a sizable chunk of the population don't see climate change as an important issue. In the US, about 26% of the population say it's mostly caused by natural patterns. 14% do not believe there's evidence the Earth is warming at all. That's about 40% of the population who don't regard climate change as a real issue. On a personal note, I feel that because we mostly live in closed environments throughout our entire lives, whether at home, work, or even in school, we often forget that it's a major issue as we aren't directly feeling the effects from it yet. Say as someone from the Sahel or Pacific maybe. Environmental degradation and ecosystems loss. Climate change has accelerated ecological degradation across multiple regions, causing lakes, glaciers, and forests to disappear. In Bolivia's Altiplano, Lake Po completely dried up, destroying wetlands that supported 76 bird species, fish, and other wildlife. The rise in temperature, increased evapotranspiration, and unregulated mining combine to acidify water resources and contaminate soil, leading to toxic levels of heavy metals such as lead and mercury in rivers. Desertification and drought have reduced vegetation cover, resulting in soil erosion and loss of biodiversity. Similar patterns are seen globally. Warmer climates alter habitats, force species migration, and threaten ecosystems that once sustained both humans and animals. Ecosystem collapse reduces natural carbon sinks such as wetlands and forests, worsening climate feedback loops. Agricultural and climate feedback impacts. Changing weather patterns are disrupting global agriculture, which directly affects ecosystem. According to Brock and Hayden, the unpredictable droughts and floods in farming regions increase soil degradation, nutrient runoff, and pesticide pollution, harming nearby rivers and wetlands. Extreme rainfall leads to erosion and flooding, while prolonged droughts reduce groundwater and biodiversity. Farmers, both Amish and non-Amish, report difficulty adapting to shifting planting seasons and more intense winters, leading to overuse of land and increased carbon emissions from machinery. These ecological pressures create a vicious cycle. Human land use amplifies climate impacts, which then further destabilize the environment. Without sustainable adaptation, both ecosystems and agricultural productivity will continue to decline. Thank you for listening to our presentation. Here are our references.